Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Welcome to Talent for Tomorrow. This is such a critical topic for us when we think about the need to develop and retain our leaders in higher education. Because higher education is facing so many challenges, a multitude of challenges, am I right? And we've been talking about those challenges for the past 2 days. And so many thought leaders and researchers are calling for leaders in higher education who are multidimensional, agile leaders who can help us navigate these challenges that we're facing. Just last year, InsideHigherEd.com published an article about Chancellor McRaven, who is the chancellor of the University of Texas system. He is noted as saying, the toughest job in the nation is that of a university president. And so I have worked in numerous industries, from manufacturing, government, and higher education. And one thing I know is that if a 4-star admiral and Navy SEAL, in fact, McRaven was the person who he coordinated and led the operation that took out Osama bin Laden. So if a 4-star admiral only comes into higher education for 3 years and leaves stating it's really tough, then I think we have some unique challenges in higher education. Would you agree?
Yes.
And so that's what we're going to talk about today. When I worked at the University System of Georgia at the system office for 8 years, I was responsible for developing our leaders, mentoring programs, executive leadership programs, coaching programs. And one thing that I constantly received was phone calls from presidents, vice presidents who were calling and seemed rather urgent about filling critical positions on their campuses. And I'll never forget, one of those phone calls was from a vice president of student affairs. In fact, she was interim vice president of student affairs at the time. And her call, she seemed so exasperated on the telephone because she had served as interim vice president of student affairs for a little over a year, and her president was ready to appoint her into the position full time. However, she did not have a successor for her position, which was AVP of enrollment management, a really critical position. In fact, there were also 2 other positions within her division that they were unable to fill. And so her promotion was actually delayed until they could fill those critical positions. And so I have countless stories and experiences similar to that one. But that is one example that really stands out in my mind because it really exemplified the need to have a more systematic approach to developing leaders in higher education. So welcome to this really engaging topic that's really needed right now in higher education. Early in my career, I really learned the importance of a formal, structured leadership development program and how that can really make a difference in your organization. And so what we hope to do today, is share some tools and information with you that can help you on your campuses develop a really robust leadership development program and strategy so that you're developing the talent within. Because one thing is for certain, we're not always able to go to the market to find the talent that we need within our organizations. And so that's why it's critical that we take a strategic approach to developing the leaders that are already within our organizations, because studies have shown that it really increases morale and it increases engagement and retention when we're having these dialogues with our faculty and staff about their future. We didn't really have a formal, structured approach to identifying that next generation of leaders. And so, of course, that fell within my area, so I immediately went into action and started doing the research and learned that 40% of our current chief business officers, which is a really critical position on our campuses, 40% were eligible to retire within the next 5 years. And so as I continued researching, I learned that it wasn't isolated to Georgia. This was a problem or a challenge that was being experienced by institutions across the country. And then I also learned that it wasn't isolated to higher education. So many sectors are facing similar issues regarding who's going to be filling these next positions, these future positions within the organization. And so it's incumbent upon all of us as human resources leaders to ensure that we're taking the necessary steps in order to develop the talent within. We had to identify the high potential, high performing talent, those leaders who would participate in the program. And so Capstone created an online application that would request their leadership statement about why they would want to participate in a program like this, as well as how did they see their participation help Dalton State achieve its strategic goals. We wanted to always make sure at every level there was alignment with the strategic plan of the organization. And then additional information that we also collected from their managers. We asked their managers, what are their strengths? What are some of their developmental areas? Because again, you need that feedback. It's not just a self-report of what you think your strengths are, but we wanted to know from their managers, what did they need to work on specifically while they were participating in the program. And it was really intriguing to me to learn from them that a lot of them really didn't see themselves as leaders on the campus, and they were surprised and pleasantly surprised that they were viewed as leaders, and that the institution wanted to continue investing in their leadership development in this way. And so it was really more or less an opportunity to instill more confidence in them and help them understand how influential they already are on the campus, and then what their future could be should they continue on this leadership development path. Innovation, collaboration, communication, budgeting, human resources, just various topics that were identified through our research and the focus groups. So we also included research-based assessments, because again, in order to gain that self-awareness, it's not enough just for you to self-assess or for your manager to assess you. You really need that 360 view. How many of you have participated in a 360-degree assessment? So if you have not, I highly recommend it because it definitely gives you more insight. And it's not just a one and done, I take it and I read my results and I move forward. So just a little bit about design thinking if you're not familiar with it, but we implemented this with our Accelerated Leadership Academy at the Board of Regents. And so those participants were able to learn this process, and we found that it was so helpful. Now this is a process that really emanated out of Stanford University through their design school, starting with the tech industry mostly. But the methodology is so powerful that other industries and other sectors began using it, and now it's being used in government, higher education, healthcare, so many other sectors are using this methodology because it is really a human-centered approach to complex problem solving. And it allows you to focus primarily and initially on the end user. So you look at your extreme users of a program or a service or a process, and you look at those who love it and use it all the time, and those who hate it and never even bother to come to the benefits fair. So you want to discover what is causing these people who really love it, what's causing that, and then the people who hate it and never attend, what's causing that disparity. And so you look there and you start there first, and you really empathize with your end user, and that helps you to further define the problem. So we know that it's going to take longer for us to really realize some of the true longer term benefits of a leadership development program such as this, but we were really pleased with the results. And we believe that this could really be a model of effectiveness for leadership development for other campuses. So I hope that you will take your Lido card and you've been inspired to, if you don't have very much going on your campus, start today. And if you do have some of these elements, continue working on it and make sure that your program is strategic and that it's in alignment with the goals of the organization, and that you engage those individuals who would participate, because leadership development is one way to really engage and retain your leaders. Thank you very much.